Start summary. Or is it the AI companion I have to click? No, it's start summary. I always mix myself up on that. Anyhoodle. All right. My biggest overall announcement before we get into any of today's topics is that the summer school is quickly approaching. It's just over a month away, which is bonkers. It's May 20 to 24, if you hadn't recalled. Registration, I'm pretty sure, is due in 2 weeks, 2 Mondays from now, which means that also the NSF travel support is also due then. And then a little bit after that, if you want to, present a poster on what you guys are doing with your research in Python, at that, you have the opportunity to do so as well. Information's on the summer school page, which just go to pyhc.org and you'll find all of that. And if you're planning to come in person and you have not booked your hotel yet, you should do so soon unless you're willing to stay further from the event. The guaranteed per diem rate with the government per diem rate, the cutoff I think is by the end of April 18th. So do
So,
it by Thursday. Do it by Thursday night.
so Julie, if we're waiting for support, should we just go ahead and book that, or does
Yeah,
do you
I
need?
would
Okay.
go ahead and book it for you because you're being supported by that one-off grant I have. It's coming.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
with and
Okay. No, yeah. No, sorry. I didn't realize I was a total one-off and not like lumped into the rest of the support. So I will do that.
it's oh, no worries, no worries. It's just two of you, you and oh my gosh, I forget who else, but it's just two of you on that particular thing. But I would go ahead and book. Um, and that's all I have for the moment on that.
Really, a
Sean,
quick question on that. Do you want those of us that are presenting or supporting to register as well, just so we're in the system?
yeah, just so I can be sure to get an accurate head count for in person. That would be great. Also, you're not going to be emailed about it if you don't register. So there's that. Okay, cool. Sean, any overall things?
Yeah, I can mention that I'm going to be trying to link up with Peter this week, hopefully tomorrow on Zoom for just a little bit about setting up our HelioCloud instance at LASP for the summer school.
Oh,
Yep, I got an email from him. I think it was just this morning, right before I signed on here, that he had been away on travel. So that's why there was a bit of a delay in getting an email back there. But yep, gonna figure out what kind of AWS requirements and stuff we have there, and then figure out who to talk to at LASP to help me set it all up. And I'll be the admin of it, I assume, but I might need some other LASP resources. Not really sure how that'll work yet, but I'll have an update on that soon.
awesome. Sounds good. I should probably get login for that too.
You actually do have a temporary login for the one they set up that's just at like pyhcschool.heliocloud.org.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, cool.
that was
Sick.
that was emailed to us. So
Beautiful.
buried in your inbox somewhere.
Somewhere. Cool. Okay. Well, without further ado, we can go ahead and move on to the main topic of today, which is the second vote for Feb 1. And I will let you drive that horse, John.
Oh, great. That would involve me actually having thought about it. So yeah, we did do one vote on this a month ago, and there were a couple of modifications which I made, and then the vote passed. So in theory, at this point, folks have had a chance to look at this process, um, have had their input on it, and have made one vote to say, yes, this is how we should capture consensus and make decisions going forward. And so this is a chance to make a second vote and make sure that we're all definitely on board, but this is also a chance for some further conversation. Um, and if people have concerns about whether that is of serious enough concern that say, hey, look, we're going to stop this process and revisit, or whether it's a, hey, how are we going to actually implement this, and what does this really mean, then we can go forward.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know I've obviously looked at the document and I'm ready to go forward, but of course I would say that.
Yeah, I think it's. Does anybody have any questions? Is this news to anybody? I don't think so. I think everybody here has been around for that. I'm just trying to get into my GitHub so I can pull things up as necessary.
Any comments, concerns from the crowd? An explanation of FEP would help, says Rebecca.
All right, so it's the Python heliophysics enhancement process. It's, like I said, a means of capturing consensus and doing collective decision making. So we have a process by which we can say, hey, we should all be doing X. And we know that we've really captured both we all and what X really means. I will throw the link into the chat to the pull request where this has been getting developed and discussed extensively. It's not going to be an easy way to catch up really quick, but there's that. And I should also be able to pull up my slides from the meeting. I'll throw a link into that as well. There we go. So we can have a few minutes for folks to absorb that if they need to and ask anything else.
Yeah. We can give a few minutes for that. I mean, nothing has changed since the last time we talked
By
about it.
definition.
Yeah, by definition, yeah. But there may be a person or two here that wasn't present at the first vote.
So the other thing, hope people are looking. Sean, are you available for me to buttonhole you at some point this week? Talk about actually getting stuff up on the website and such. I've got some fragmentary bits and pieces, but actually implementing it intelligently is probably you'd probably be better placed.
Yeah, I have time this week for that.
Okay, good. I'll get in touch offline then. Well, probably on Slack is going to make the most sense. So
Cool. Yep. That'll work for me. I actually don't have all that many meetings set up this week, so this is a pretty good week to do
oh, don't say that. Somebody's going to jump on that.
it.
Any thoughts so
Yeah.
far on the FEP as we're sitting here and contemplating it? I don't have any qualms personally. I'm assuming if you're
My only question is, have there been any changes since the last time we met as a group to discuss it?
Not since the vote at the spring virtual meeting. So by definition, between the two votes, we don't do changes, or else that resets the clock.
Great, thanks.
should we go ahead and vote.
I mean, it's been a few minutes.
I second that.
All right. I third my own suggestion. So let's do the same
Can't
as
do
last.
that, truly.
Yes. Let's do it the same as we did last time. You can put yay, nay, or abstain in the chat. Yeah, go for it.
Cool. Here we go.
I like some are interpreting yay as Y-E-A, yes, and others as yay, Y-A-Y. Woohoo!
Both count.
Yes, they do.
Maybe we should log those separately.
And 11. Oh, I'm the 12th one that hasn't voted because I'm reading everyone's messages. Okay, there we go. Oh, wow, I can't spell today. I'm just going to give you all the options. I'm all the above.
I already said you can't vote 3 times for yourself.
Should we start another FEP on just phonetic versions of yay and nay, which will be accepted?
Feel free.
We have to accept Unicode because we already have a jaw there from months, so we have to support foreign languages here as well.
Oh, God.
Well, we did actually agree that FEP texts are UTF-8. So I was originally pushing for ASCII, but I was corrected. So I think that's 10 yays and 2 abstentions, if I can count.
It indeed is. So it looks like this FEP is official. It passes. It is written into PyHC law.
Woohoo! Thanks,
There-
folks. So I will work with Sean to get this actually up on the website and on Zenodo, and then I will also move the template forward. So the template's informational, so people should feel free to use it even though it hasn't been approved. So, but I can move that to a vote at a future PyHC Telecon.
Great. Yep, that's exciting. Yep, now we'll just need to get it listed up on the website. We can make a nice big blog post about it to announce its existence, and yeah,
Mhm.
got across the finish line.
And Jack comes in just
Jack, you're aware of what FEP1 is. Do you want to put a yay or nay for it in the chat? Spoiler alert, though, it's already passing unless you say nay.
I just joined. What am I voting on?
FEP1, the second vote.
Yay.
Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat.
Okay.
But I will also go on a bit of a tear of opening up some issues, and please, I don't want to be the person driving all of these, but trying to consolidate what we have to date in terms of standards and what people have suggested for changes. And mentally, I'm thinking of it as patriating the Constitution, where we take our current standards, write them up into some combination of FEPs, make changes as appropriate, and move on. So thank you all. I think I've been on like 4 or 5 meetings for this, so I've taken a lot of your time on it, but I hope it'll pay off for all of us. So thanks.
We've taken a lot of your time, so thank you, John.
I was gonna say, yeah,
You're welcome. Had I known how involved this was going to be, I probably would not have started, but I think it's still going to be better for us all around to have something concrete to work from.
I can
Yeah.
agree.
it's an important part of the PyHC infrastructure.
Totally on board with that. All right, so now we move on to the walk-on topic portion of the Telecon, and I know, Sean, that you had some ideas regarding the PyHC gallery to propose.
Yes, I do. And I'm expecting, well, actually, I can go ahead and claim the floor time for that for just a little bit, because it actually was mentioned in the Google Calendar that the gallery would be talked about. So if anyone's checking those for the topics, that was there already. So if there's another walk-on topic someone else wanted to bring up, it'll have to be done after my thing, I guess. So, and sorry. But yeah, let's see here. I did not come prepared with any slides to discuss this, but I do have thoughts, and I can pull up the PyHC gallery to just like screen share and have something to look at for a little bit. So let me do that just very briefly here. Because yeah, while I'm pulling this up, guys, just me and Julie were chatting not too long ago about kind of what to do with the gallery, and I've sort of had an idea that the current direction it's been going is not the most helpful, and I've got a better direction that we could go. So I wanted to just kind of let people know what I've been thinking. Let's see here. Screen share. And make sure I click the right window. And all right, so hopefully this is the PyHC website. And can I get the Zoom
Yeah.
window out of the way? Yes, I can. There we go. So now we're looking at the PyHC gallery, and this is well, this is actually the older version. Yes, there we go. There is, if you click this banner up here, we've had this for kind of a while now. Hopefully I'm not demoing this to people for the first time. Really, if maybe one or two people haven't seen this before, that's okay. But we redid the gallery in a Jupyter book layout. And this had a few improvements with the gallery, which basically was just that it can accept notebooks, just regular old Jupyter notebooks, as the input side to display some kind of demo on here. And we added the ability to like run the code directly in the browser or pulled up via Binder, and it's using the PyHC environment on the back end to run these things. But basically, for the sort of the problem is that just for the longest time, this gallery has been the same. It hasn't had any new updates added to it. We've had the same sort of, what this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if I can count, or 7 because I can't count gallery examples. And it's not, I'm thinking, the most helpful thing to try to convince people to contribute new gallery examples to this, because everyone has their own documentation already with their own beautiful suite of examples, mostly in read the docs. So if we're going to just say the projects page, and we've got the docs here for everyone. Pretty much everyone's docs include coding examples. So what I've been thinking is there is probably a way to dynamically populate this gallery that does not involve people having to submit notebooks that are just going to go out of date once package versions get bumped anyway and things change. So what I'm pitching is I'll be building some kind of mechanism that can read the docs and find the coding examples that people have in the documentation already, and sort of just pipe those in to the gallery here, is my thinking. So that this could become sort of just a living, breathing web page that just co-locates all the people's different documentations into one place. And we would presumably, if I can figure out how to make it work, still have the ability to run the examples like in Binder or directly on the website, which is not a feature I think that anyone's read the docs have right now. I think they're just static web pages with code blocks. Correct me if I'm wrong. If anyone's gone a step further and made yours executable, that would be sweet. But my questions to the group are, one, do people generally agree, yes or no? Would that be a better approach for the gallery to take than what we've been doing? And has anyone ever tried to go that direction before with anything? And does anyone have any tools or experience scraping from read the docs to pull out like code snippets?
That's going to need an awful lot of your monitoring and tuning, because there could be their different dependencies or data set dependencies or things like that. And I would guess that half of them will break if you just import them and use them. A lot of them will work, but I think you're going to have to actually go through them and see what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
There's also going to be quite a few little code block examples that are really designed to highlight a specific feature and might not be standalone in a gallery either, right? There might be a little snippet of something that fits in the narrative and the documentation that might not work as a standalone in your tool. So I'm just saying there's going to be a warning. You're going to have to do a lot of looking to see whether it's relevant and how it fits.
Kind of like slideware, it's a snippet that, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Although actually, sorry, slideware, I don't know if that's a word that I know.
I just mean like it's from presentations, like sort of more at software conferences, like CPPCon and things like that. That's where I picked up that term. Just means like software code that you present at a conference, but it's necessarily very minimalized and usually doesn't have all the imports or include. Yeah.
Slideware. Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
Now.
So it's, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a valid point. You would have to kind of distinguish what's just a code snippet there for a page versus what's meant to be its own like example. I mean, I know like in some galleries it's really easy where they have like a whole just examples portion of their documentation, but it's not so clean cut for everyone else.
Yeah, even where we have, most of our examples try to be complete end to end, including the imports, but there's often comments in terms of setting up context of, hey, go grab this data file, or, this thing is happening or whatever, which is much, the audience is very much human.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay. So
now we have set up, examples repo that has our notebooks as we do for the summer school, and we're trying to make those more useful to folks outside of the summer school. So that's a possible route as well.
Nice. That's some good things that can come out of getting prepared for a thing like a summer school. But yeah, so I'm hearing that there could be some other pre-processing steps that will make this. I mean, I'm already expecting it to be pretty complicated. I'm not going to kid myself into thinking it would be particularly easy in one shot to build something that would scrape documentation and pull it together in a gallery like this. But I'm thinking it'll be worth the effort to try. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I'm going to guess that not too many people find this website here the most useful, just due to its almost complete lack of content. So I'm thinking anything that starts to pull together what people already have would be better than what we have here. And it would be nice to try to lower the work on your all's end. So people who are already maintaining good, like read the docs documentation, I wouldn't want you to have to jump through too many hoops just to try to get it to work with the gallery and that kind of thing. I'm seeing, yeah, go for it, Jack. You got a hand up?
Yeah, I thought the purpose of this gallery was to show examples that worked between the packages in PyHC. So that hasn't panned out. So yeah, I don't know if we do we need to try and get some more packages, sort of, science examples that require multiple packages, or
Yeah.
maybe.
One immediate thought I have, and Rebecca, I see your hand. I'll get to that in a sec. Is that in the summer school, we actually do have like whole portions dedicated out to packages teaching interoperable things. And I will say it's been tricky coordinating that, just getting the packages to kind of meet up and decide, all right, what's a scientific use case that can be covered by both of our packages? And now how do we think up some code examples to do it? But we have been going there. So after the summer school, we will have a few examples like that we could go ahead and add to this gallery. I mean, we definitely can keep adding to it in the meantime. But yes, that's been the tricky thing. That's probably why there's maybe one or two on here that combine multiple packages, like transforming coordinates between these three here. But yeah, it's a good point taken.
Okay.
Rebecca?
Yeah, so I think the idea of scraping for things is gonna cause you more trouble than good. But I wonder if it could be done in a simpler way where instead of submitting notebooks, people submit links to the notebooks. Where those notebooks get updated and maybe they be routinely pulled from that link.
Yeah, I could see that. Just for people who do have notebook examples, just giving them one less thing to do, like don't have to download it and send it to me or open a PR in GitHub, but just give a link and make it work that way.
It doesn't resolve all the problems, but it might help resolve the whole keeping it updated problem.
Yeah, and that actually does make me think about just because Komodo's been in my mind because Darren talked, and yeah, I know like the Komodo examples actually are a bunch of notebooks that are in, I think, just the GitHub repo there. And actually it in theory would be low-hanging fruit to well, first we have to change up, I think, like the variables they use in there, because if I recall correctly, there's like, paths specific to someone's personal computer in those notebooks. But if we clean those up, we could just drop all those into this gallery and there could be a whole bunch of Komodo ones right there. So hearing that, well, just not really hearing, reminding myself that actually that could be added without all that much extra work. We just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, just even those will require a little bit of cleanup to generalize them. But yeah, those are the easiest ones to grab because those are self-contained and usually complete as a package. So
Yep, nice. So yeah, so I mean, I guess it'll be hard to know until I actually get down there and start trying to implement something, right? But I think it's gonna be worth my effort to at least try to put together something and just scrape a few repos to see what happens and try to figure out, oh God, is this gonna be, a nightmare to try to pull together, or is this actually decently doable? But yeah, I guess I'll be reporting back at a later time to see how that's been going and if we actually are able to get something that's got pretty much everyone's examples, but for their own documentation. Does that lead to a better website? Or like Jack mentioned, does that still actually leave something to be desired? Because even if we had all the repos, we might not have very many inner package examples, which might be more the kind of thing people want. Yeah. Just trying to think about what we could do with this thing to make it good. I do want to, while I have people who are potentially more knowledgeable about this than I am, I do want to pointedly ask people, has anyone ever done anything scraping info out of Read the Docs before? And does anyone know of any particular tool that would be good with that? I'll give a second in case anyone's thinking.
I've done a lot of scraping over the years, but I've always just handwritten bash scripts. You curl down the content and then you process it out, right? So I haven't used any tools that do it, make it easier, but it's all doable just by brute force. Pretty, not too hard.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, just wanted to float this idea by you all and make people aware that that's been talked about on the back end, and now it's been talked about in front of you all, and I plan on trying that out at some point. I don't know that I can fill too much more time with that. So
I have something, Sean, actually.
yes, then in that case, I think I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen.
Cool. Thanks, Sean.
You are welcome.
So I presented a test last week, and entertainingly, whenever I wrote up an abstract months ago for that, I had assumed we'd be decently far along in our partnership process with PyOpenSci as far as, package reviews and standard implementation went. We're not yet. So I pivoted that presentation and talked more about kind of the discussion that we had at that unconference at our spring meeting recently, and what it means to be a PyHC package, and then how to move forward in my mind with what we had decided there. Let's see, let me make sure I'm picking the right desktop. Can you all see a slide on the screen? Sick. Okay. Moving everyone's faces out of my way. So this is a screenshot of, well, I couldn't fit it all into one page, of our discussion, basically, of what does it mean to be a PyHC package as of right now, right? So Rebecca kindly organized this into kind of two different ways. The basic interpretations were essentially just a listing of packages of Python and heliophysics on a website, which is kind of approximately where we're at now. And then the more original intent of our, standards-oriented approach, where we're actually showing how well we're adhering with standards to PyHC, we're trying to be interoperable, all that good jazz. And so my idea for how to move forward was to go ahead with this tiering idea that we brought up a couple different times at the spring meeting. And I want to tell you all now to not throw the pitchforks at me yet. I'm going to make a FEP to put all this into words, and then you can all tear it apart there if you so choose. Sorry, move ahead. And I have a chat. Okay, torches only. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. So the way I see it moving forward is having a few different tiers, kind of, our honorable mentions, which is essentially those unmaintained packages, maybe one-off scripts that were used in science papers, but we want to document that somewhere, that kind of thing. So like I said, on the current status on the right, unmaintained, no self-evaluation, all that. And the benefit for those kind of packages would be listing on a secondary PyHC package page. So your package isn't just completely forgotten. With time, people can still search it if they find it useful. But we're not going to necessarily actively promote it or, push for talks on it at our telecons and so forth. A step up being, the bronze. So those that have done the bare minimum of completing, a self-evaluation, and you get listing on our main PyHC page. And if you have updates as you're trying to move up a tier, you can come and present on telecons about that. Silver, would be bronze plus. So those are the packages, that are undergoing the PyOpenSci process. So trying to move up, essentially. You don't have any red status on the PyHC standards at this point, or hopefully mostly not. And those are the packages that then the carrot is maybe you start getting included in our summer school materials, especially if you're far along through that PyOpenSci process. Maybe you get extra help with improving your PyHC standards, grading, and so forth. And then the gold cream of the crop would be those that have, undergone the PyOpenSci review process, green on most of your standards. Some of these are pie in the sky goals, so no installation conflicts in the PyHC environment. Maybe pip conda installable. I know that that's a can of worms that I'm just going to leave for the FEP for people to open. But yeah, so those kind of things. So then you would get, all the silver benefits plus extra promotion of your software. You'd get a cute PyOpenSci verified badge to add extra trustworthiness to your package, and then inclusion within the PyHC bot info that Sean is putting together. So this is just kind of an initial layout I thought of based on the conversations that we had and ways to move forward. And so, yeah, like I said, I intend to create a FEP on this, one on the package tiering, and then also a separate one on PyHC package affiliation, just so we can get that nailed down. So when we're trying to go through this gold and silver process for undergoing PyOpenSci, we actually know what we're measuring against other than just our standards, you know? And I see these as being based on the 3 different FEP processes we have, being a process FEP. So a process surrounding PyHC or proposes a change to the process. People in the community can't ignore it, but it's not necessarily a standard in itself. Save that comment for the FEP in GitHub, Rebecca. But I just wanted to put that in front of everyone's face before, you know, it just gets randomly thrown up as a FEP. John, go ahead.
So Julia, this looks good. I like the fact that there's a progression. There may be too many, but we can, talk about that. What would be really useful for me to get my head around a discussion context would be, can you grid this out of like, the 4 categories? Maybe you have the benefits as one column and then a column like this is what you have to do in terms of pip. This is what you have to do in terms of PyOpenSci. This is, and then I think that'll help figure out a little bit better of the, okay, with regards to pip and conda, where's our gold silver line? And just I think in grids.
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm happy to mutilate it into that, morph it into that, whatever verbiage you want to use. Thanks for that feedback. Cool. All right. Well, like I said, I'm not really necessarily looking for comments on the specific content of this right now. Save your pitchforks and torches and tomatoes or whatever you have to throw at it for the GitHub FEP that I'll put up. But yeah, this is coming. Here's your warning and notification of that, basically. Cool. Do we have any other walk-on topics while we're here? Anything people want to bring up or discuss?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Hopefully I don't cause fireworks this late in the meeting, but I'm interested in hearing how these methods of setting standards are used across software and maybe even in other areas of setting standards. Is that
Sorry,
a weird question?
I have more clarity about what.
Sorry. So it seems that this method of setting standards came from, what was it, NumPy and the Python, the PEPs. Does anyone have kind of, I guess, words of advice or something from those methods towards this one, and maybe even towards setting standards in other areas outside of software?
The one thing I can think of that might be worth looking at would be the different categories of support on Ubuntu. That's the closest analogy I can think of. Their stuff is in the core repository versus multiverse.
Sounds like a great discussion topic at a meeting.
Well, maybe not, given the complete silence of the room.
I was gonna say I definitely haven't thought about applying standards to anything beyond just like PyHC packages.
Okay. Well, sorry for the off the wall question. I'll be quiet now.
No worries.
Rebecca, is your question more about the enhancement proposal process, or?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the purpose of that is to try and get, a community agreement, right?
Yeah.
So, well, what do you have in mind for that this process would be useful for?
I think that's a baited question, Jack. Maybe we should talk about that offline. Or am I allowed to talk about those things here?
Well, I don't know what you have in mind, but if you think it's not, for this venue, then that's fine. But
Yeah.
I mean, the process is meant to involve as many people as possible, so
Yep.
everyone can chip in.
And ideally to give us a mechanism for if we ever in the future grow so large that it becomes difficult to wrangle ourselves,
Yeah, that's true. You may have seen that SunPy has I think last week no, it just came out today. They're looking for input for like a new governance structure. So that's another example of the like trying to engage the community to develop guidelines and procedures that the community agrees on. So I guess it can work in, but that's very much the nature of open source, right? Is you want to try and encourage as many people as possible. So it's appropriate. I would say it's appropriate in some situations and not appropriate in others.
I also want to pull up Nabil's question in the chat. I'm kind of in the same boat. He mentioned not understanding the original question itself. Are we trying to compare PyHC Feb to other mechanisms across software? Is this more about general governance of a project?
After my fuzzy test brain, I'm not, maybe both. So,
We're talking about my chart, the FEP, or the interaction?
oh, good point. Okay, I've apparently screwed up the end of this meeting, so I'm sorry. Maybe we should just sign off.
No worries. Jeff, your hand's up.
Hey, so I figured I'll bring up a specific example because maybe that'll help clarify it. And because this is something I've been thinking about lately as Python keeps changing how it deals with time, for instance, and incorporating more support of time zones. This is kind of becoming a little more annoying on dealing with a spacecraft that just uses UTC. And kind of, I've been kind of thinking, would that be an appropriate thing as a FEP for discussion so we can kind of come to some agreement about maybe not a requirement, but an informational FEP that would talk about what's the best way to deal with this, what's the most efficient way to handle timestamps as Python is changing, or potentially something that we would push up to Python itself at the top level to ask for more support for UTC, as opposed to pushing everything having a time zone aware object. And maybe that solution is in place already, and I'm just not aware of it in terms of that. But that's kind of this could be a FEP versus a PEP versus something else, just community discussion.
Maybe starting with a discussion, leading into a FEP if need be. Other thoughts?
Time in particular, AstroPy time is what SunPy uses, and that has an interface to Python time. You can write something as a AstroPy time object and translate it into date time or whatever. So my vote is for that. But yeah, it might be a good idea, like, the FEP process, like this would be a good one to sort of, if you wanted to say, like, packages will use AstroPy time because it handles UTC and TAI and things like that, then the FEP process would be one that you would want to use for to make that decision.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was kind of thinking of. This could be on an informational level, as opposed to a requirement one, just because it's a problem I run into every time I see a new future warning come down from Python.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that at the moment?
Yeah, it seems like the meeting might be running out of steam here.
That is fair. Do we have any final walk-on topics or questions or comments before we wrap? Okay, I hereby call it finished. Thanks, everyone. I know I have something in 2 weeks on the calendar. No ironed out topic yet, but if you have something burning that you know you want to bring up and present, do let me know.